Movie camera, welcome to Brainrot, Echoes, where the echoes of forgotten truths, ideas, and memories are awakened. We tell the stories you've never heard, uncover hidden shadows, and push the limits of imagination. Milky Way Brainrot, Echoes, when the final echo finally finds someone who listens. Back-end index pointing right, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to join us on every journey. Chapter 4. The City of Half a Story. Not every story needs an ending, but when all are left unfinished, every character forgets why they exist. After passing the Watcher, Oren fell into a void without depth. He did not fly, did not fall, did not stand, simply drifted past suspended fragments of memory. They were not evil, not broken, not in conflict. They were simply never complete. When ground returned beneath his feet, a city spread out like a question left unanswered. The gate bore no name. The streets had no addresses. The buildings, it was impossible to tell if they were under construction, abandoned, or once lived in. The city felt as if it had been written halfway, and the writer forgot what they meant to say. The inhabitants moved quietly. They did not bow their heads. They did not sigh, but in their eyes, each awaited the next line of their tale. A man in cracked armor stood at a corner and asked Oren, "Are you a prophet?" "No." "A storyteller?" "Perhaps." "Then tell me, what am I?" Oren looked at him. A warrior's form, yet holding flowers in his hand. Oren opened his notebook and wrote, "You are the beginning of a farewell that never came to pass." The man smiled, not with joy, not with sorrow, only with a look that sealed the question he no longer needed to ask. In the central square, a girl sat on the steps, surrounded by half-stitched dolls without eyes. She did not look at Oren when she spoke. She spoke into the emptiness. Who am I in this story? A dreamer? A victim? Or merely decoration? Oren bent down, took a loose thread from her hand, and pressed it between the pages of his notebook. You are a half-remembered memory, and someone is trying to recall you, but lacks the courage. At once, the dolls closed their eyes for the first time, not in sleep, but as if granted permission to end their unfinished gaze. This city was once built by a storyteller. No one knew who. That person did not die. They simply stopped writing. Perhaps from doubt. Perhaps because no one listened. Perhaps because of a pain so private they wished no one to reach the final line. And so the city became trapped between once begun and never finished. Each inhabitant lived without knowing their role. Each scene was sketched, but with no reason to fade. Each emotion was opened, and then left still. Oren walked the corridors of a library. There were no books, only thousands of blank pages bound in covers, waiting not for hands to write them, but for choices. He chose a volume. No title, just one line on the first page. Do you wish to end this story? Oren thought long. Then he wrote, "No," but he did not close the book. He wrote further. "I do not wish to end it. I wish to continue, but with a new voice. A voice that forces no one to the ending, but lets them reach it when they are ready." In that instant, the city trembled gently. Not an earthquake, not rebirth, but the first breath of a place once suspended between two lines of writing. The people did not change at once. They did not vanish. They did not become whole. Simply, they knew their roles could now be chosen anew. A boy picked up a brush and continued a mural left incomplete. An old woman stepped out of a shop that had stood open for 2,000 days without selling a thing, and touched the cheek of her first customer. A soldier removed his helmet and realized he could be a teacher. Oren did not give an ending. He gave each person the right to write their own. He left the city. No farewell, no monument. No one called him a hero. Only a faint inscription on the east gate where he departed. Thank you for not finishing, but letting us write what comes next. Chapter end. There are places that need no ending. They only need someone brave enough to enter and say, "I'm not your author, but I believe you deserve a final chapter, whatever you choose it to be." Chapter 5. The Memory Hidden in Stone. Memory is not only forgotten in the mind. Some memories have turned themselves into form, waiting for someone brave enough to listen with feeling. The wind shifted as Oren left the city of half a story. Not because of the terrain, but because ahead lay memories that had compressed in a solid form, no longer moving, no longer speaking. They weren't erased. They had been buried in their most enduring shape, stone. Before Orin rose a nameless mountain range, absent from any record. The people of Originem called it many names, the silent range, the mute wall, or simply the place that is not called. For there, every sound is swallowed. Every word loses its way. Every feeling turns to stone. As Orin stepped onto the foothills, the air thickened, as if he was entering a memory that no longer wished to be told. The stones were not inert. They quivered slightly as anyone passed, not in threat, but to send out a question buried too long. What was I once? Orin touched a bluish-gray stone, its surface jagged like the fracture of a sorrow unresolved. Immediately, a tide of feelings surged within him. No image, no word, only a longing without knowing for whom. Who once loved me? And whom did I love, but never dare to say? He wrote the lines in his notebook, and the words did not stay only on the page. They pulsed upon the stone's surface, as if the memory within had realized it still existed. A soft wind carried tiny cracking sounds, not of collapse, but of ancient layers of feeling beginning to tell themselves. He moved on. Each stone vibrated with its own beat, some as cold as an embrace refused, some cracked like a name forgotten among kin, some so still that even he wondered, was this once a person? Amid the range, he found a pillar stretching to the clouds. At its peak, a small hollow, as if a giant I had once watched all life and then hollowed itself out. He laid his hand on the base. No reply. He wrote, I did not come seeking who is right, but to listen to what has been silenced. This time, a vein of light appeared on the stone. It snaked upward like blood until it reached the hollow. From there came a deep sound. No words, no melody, only a heartbeat of stone. And from within the mountains, fissures opened gently, revealing memory cores condensed into dim crystals. Each crystal held an abstract form, a wave of hair with no head, a half-written letter breaking into smoke, thin hands grasping something that had already vanished. Orin understood. This is the tomb of memories no one dared keep, not because they were wrong, but because they were too painful, too beautiful, or too meaningless to bear. He sat before a crystal shaped like a bird in free fall. No eyes, no wings, just the posture of falling, not yet met by the ground. He whispered, I do not come to take. I come to call you, if you wish. The crystal trembled. It did not shatter, but glowed gently, becoming a simple sign, an incomplete circle. He drew it in his notebook, naming it, a regret that never became a tear. At once, the mountain's crystals hummed together, a chorus without conductor, without score, enough to bring tears. The range did not collapse, did not fade, but all the stone felt lighter, as if freed from the weight of things unnamed. Orin left the mountains in silence. But this time, the stones sang with silence, a song of what never had a chance to be a story, for lack of a heart gentle enough to hear. Chapter end. Not all memory must be kept, but all memory once felt deserves a name. And stone is not just hardened earth, but feeling forced to bear form. Chapter 6. The Forest of Lost Names. Every name is an affirmation that a thing once existed. When the name is forgotten, the being begins to unravel, not from death, but from no one calling it forth. Orin entered a forest without signposts. The trees were thick, but did not crowd. The leaves did not fall, did not rustle. No bird sang, no wind blew, only the clear sense that everything here had once been named and lost its name. At first, it seemed an ordinary wood, but the deeper he went, outlines blurred. A trunk, was it wood or stone? A bush, red, or only once red? A pool, reflecting nothing, as if it had forgotten how to reflect. What am I? What was I? Who last called my name? The whispers rose, not from mouths, but bark, soil, veins of leaf. They did not beg help, did not demand. They simply waited to be called. Orin bent, touched a branch curled like a hand, once pleading in a dream. No image came, but a feeling stirred in his chest. The confusion of a being once loved, then forgotten, then wondering if love was real without a name to anchor it. He opened his notebook, wrote, "I do not come to grant names. I come to listen, and to call you by the truest feeling you still hold." The tree quivered, not from wind, but as if nodding in rough bark thanks. He named it, the one who was once kissed on the eyes,